listeners. Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbull podcast. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
And today we have a packed show for you. But first, our sponsor is Southwest Pain Management. Southwest Pain Management takes care of most chronic pain without pain pills. Their goal is to get you back to doing the things that you love. They are also the world's leading long COVID experts. Dr. Roisman sees people from all over the world to treat their long COVID. Southwest Pain Management is in Plano. Please go to their website, reliefbeginshere.com. That's reliefbeginshere.com to see all that they do. So first, we are going to leave Plano, and we are going to go to New York City today because we are going to talk about the mayor elections for New York City, specifically their primary election that has sent shockwaves through the nation and is just all the talk in the media. A self-described democratic socialist named Zoran Mamdani won the Democratic primary. Not only is he a socialist, he is also an anti-Semite. Now, I have done some research and I have found out some very disturbing things about Mr. Mamdani.
Ooh.
So,
drama.
Yes. He portrays himself as a commoner or a common man who struggles or has struggled. But he is anything but common.
Isn't that what they all do? They all pretend to be, I'm one of you, but they're not.
Yep. That is what most of them do. So, he was born in Uganda to a prominent Indian family. Dad was a prominent academic and Mom was a big filmmaker. The family moved to Cape Town, South Africa, and then when Zoran was 7, they moved to New York City. Dad went to work at the very prestigious Columbia University, and Zoran attended an elite private elementary school where the tuition is $66,000 a year.
Whew.
That's like college tuition, and this is elementary school. He goes on and he graduates from the Bronx High School of Science. Now, this is a special elite public school in New York, and basically you got to qualify to get in. For college, he goes on to a fancy schmancy liberal arts college called Bowdoin College in Maine. That costs as much as a house per year. He majored in African studies. I don't know what you do with a degree in African studies, and apparently neither did Mamdani, because after he graduated, I guess he couldn't find a job in African studies, so he tried to become a rapper.
Maybe you could work in maybe it's for research or museums, or I'm not sure. Or teaching African studies.
Yeah, maybe teaching, but that would require a master's degree usually. So,
maybe that's the next step.
Yeah, he didn't go that route.
I know. I'm just thinking what you could do with that.
So, he's tried to become a rapper. Failed miserably at that.
Clearly.
And he worked for a foreclosure prevention counseling firm. Then went on to do some community organizing. In 2020, Zoran decides to run for New York State Assembly because clearly what he was trying to do was going nowhere. So he thought he'd throw his hat into the political ring. And he was backed by the New York Socialists of America. And he won. So while in the state assembly, a fellow state assemblyman said in an article that Zoran spent most of his time trying to make viral videos. And this same person in this article said no one would take his calls. He is extremely charming, but he does not know how to build. Now, what Socialist does. They see him as a show pony, not a workhorse, said the article. Now, calling him a democratic socialist in my book is a joke.
Well, democratic socialist, the whole name is a joke because you can't be two things at once.
Well, democracy is supposed to get you the votes to vote for the democratic socialist, or for the socialism, but then after that...
But that's just socialist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what socialist hasn't been elected?
Well, Hitler was elected.
Exactly.
The guy in Venezuela
was elected.
They
weren't democratic socialists. They didn't need to call themselves that.
I believe he is more of a communist. And Marx, who is the father of communism, he said that socialism is the transition stop to communism.
Yes, but there's still a different. What makes you think he's a communist?
Good question. So, the democratic socialists want to use democracy to get to socialism than communism.
Is that literally the only difference with socialism and democratic socialism?
Okay. Well, yes, that is. You vote for it, supposedly. you vote for it the first time. And then after that, you're screwed.
That's socialism.
Mm-hmm. So he, along with the Democratic Socialists of America, want to destroy capitalism. And they say it on their very own website. They say, quote, "We fight for the abolition of capitalism and the creation of a democratically run economy that provides for people's needs." The old, to each according to his abilities, from each according to his needs, another great Marxist
I understand that, capitalism has its faults. Like, no system is perfect,
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yes, capitalism has problems.
Mm-hmm.
It can be exploited very easily.
Mm-hmm.
But, unfortunately, it is the best model we have. Every other model that's been tried has failed.
Yes. Capitalism has lifted up more poor people than
more so
the
free market.
Yes. Well,
which is supported by capitalism.
Exactly. The communism has killed over 100 million people.
Well,
socialism,
to be more specific, the people in charge,
yes,
the people who tend to be in charge have.
Yes, but that's what it was led to every single time.
I know.
Whereas socialism actually is starving people today. Because
for some reason, these systems attract dictators and evil men. And I don't know why. So, the only way it could ever work is if you had someone like Jesus to lead. That's the only way that's the only way communism or socialism would ever work.
Oh no. So that's not the only problem. Yes, it attracts dictators and ruthless human beings who want power. Because communism is, and even socialism is, a centralized power for a select few people.
And then power corrupts, and yeah.
Right. So, yeah, it tends to,
attract evil
people. But in Mao's China, the reason why so many people starved wasn't because he decided he wanted to kill millions of his people. Communism took away the farmland and said, we know how to grow rice, and this is how you're going to do it. And it failed miserably, and people starved. And instead of learning from that, he doubled down.
And interesting enough, China's still communist, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not completely. They have free market zones, and that's how they sustain their economy.
Eventually, they even learned. One guy who came in years later after Mao realized that this is not working. But it was reported that the farmers were sort of not exactly going along with the rules, and they were doing capitalism behind the government's back. And when it was reported to him, he said, well, I think the quote was, what does it matter how a cat catches mice, as long as he catches mice? So they were growing food. They were growing lots of food. And he realized that was working. And yes, eventually they created these free market zones because even they realized the communism wasn't working. So not even China is fully communist in that it does not allow for private property. And when we talk about these things, we are talking about them from an economic standpoint. There's a problem with China because the other problem is they're watching everybody. There's also this...
You have the social problems.
There's a social problem. But we're just going to talk about it from an economic standpoint. So, on Meet the Press, Zoran Mamdani said, quote, I don't think we should have billionaires because it is too much money at the same time of such inequality. And what we need is equality across our country. This is right out of the Marxist playbook here. We need everybody to be equal on a monetary basis.
When has that ever worked?
Never, because you cannot make everybody rich. And he is even saying we should not have billionaires. Now, sorry, who is giving you jobs?
All this accomplishes is nobody becomes rich. It just becomes everybody becomes poor.
Exactly.
Time and time again.
Exactly.
It benefits no one.
Except for the very few in power.
Yes.
Like the dictator who eventually comes along. Every time. It is amazing how we never learn from history.
Oh, I am constantly amazed how dumb people are and how humans just don't learn.
So he wants to take away money from billionaires and redistribute it to others. And in a Jacobson article, which is a media company, he said, we are in our elected offices to redistribute whatever capital we can. And as mayor, he wants a very long list of freebies. Free buses, free childcare, rent freezes, government-owned grocery stores, because they worked so well in the USSR. And they're working so well in Venezuela, where people are 20 pounds lighter now and starving.
But Venezuela has that 50s charm. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the Kardashian thing.
That's Cuba.
Oh, I thought that was cute. Oh, I got confused.
That's Cuba.
I got it mixed up.
So
Same principle.
yes.
different country. I was thinking of a reference and I got confused.
Right. Yeah, there's a reason why Cuba looks like it did in the 1950s to this day. Because nothing got built after. He wants to replace the police with social workers to handle urban violence. Yes. Person goes to school. They go to graduate school. They got their master's degree in social work. And they're going to be able to handle urban violence. Sure.
That's a leap.
Yeah. No. So to pay for his $10 billion wish list, he wants to tax the rich and corporations, even if they are not headquartered in New York City. He said this on the Breakfast Club. He said he wants to tax them for just doing business in New York City. So even if the headquarters moved to Florida, and he kind of said that. He said, oh, well, people say, oh, they'll just move to Florida. But if they do business in New York City, if they sell a product in New York City, he will tax them at the in-resident business rate. I'm seeing all of a sudden a reduction in the goods going to New York City. Because if it's not going to pay to be doing business in New York City, people aren't gonna. Yes, and I also see billionaires fleeing just like they did in the 1970s, which almost caused New York to go bankrupt.
Well, that's what happens. These politicians think that they can get one over on billionaires, but they don't realize that the billionaires are smarter than them.
They're also the easiest to be able to pick up and move.
Yeah, they have the means to just move wherever they want to go.
Normally, they usually have other houses in other places.
It's the people who can't move that suffer.
Exactly. So they can just say, go and I'll live in my Florida house and make that my main residence. New York has already lost thousands of residents. They lost a congressional seat. Even Governor Cuomo, when he was governor, learned that this doesn't work. Okay? Taxing the rich eventually doesn't work because, as Margaret Thatcher once said, the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money.
Well, also we should clarify by saying taxing more because they're already taxed a lot.
Yes. So Cuomo, he's quoted. I saw it on the videotape. Again, I'm aging myself, but saw it on the recording. He said, we say tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich.
Rich.
But God help us if they leave. Because New York, when he was governor, had a horrible, horrible deficit problem. And unlike the federal government, they can't print money. I believe they're still having that same problem because they continue to lose people every day.
Well, when the rich leave, then the middle class is got to foot the bill.
So
yay, shrinking middle class.
Yeah. Eventually the middle class becomes poor. So Zoran Mamdani is not exactly liked by mainstream Democrats. They are becoming a little paranoid. New York Senator Chuck Schumer and New York Congressman Jeffries have not endorsed him. Who has endorsed him? AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Of course. Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist, and this guy is claiming to be a democratic socialist. Yeah. So
the thing that amazes me is that Bernie Sanders, when he runs for anything other than the senator of Vermont, he switches to the Democrat Party. Mamdani didn't run as a democratic socialist. He ran under the Democrat Party. Democrats, why are you letting these people into your party?
I think there's like a workaround because they use that Democrat label, I think, to be able to worm in their socialist. I think what they really are is socialists, but they use that Democratic title to kind of worm their way into the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
That's my crackpot theory.
They also use it to appeal to people who agree and believe in democracy.
Maybe, yeah.
Mamdani actually looks to Sanders as a role model and one who inspired him to become a socialist.
Makes sense.
Yes. He is a product of the Bernie movement. But calling him a socialist is being too kind. As I said, I believe he is a communist. And I have his own words to prove it. So in a video from the Gavel Institute, which is a left-wing think tank, they made a video in January 2021 with Mamdani. And Mamdani says he wants government to buy up housing and convert it to community ownership, which basically means government ownership.
That's full-on communism.
Exactly. That is full-on communism because now we're not owning the means of production. We are actually now owning private property. The government is owning private property. He wants, he went on to say he wants to end subsidies for luxury housing. Okay, something that I can agree with him on. One thing, that would be it. Subsidies. You know, on this show we have talked about that basically subsidies is another word for economic development, okay? And the TIF zones and the TER zones and this subsidy and that grant and this giving money, he wants to end those. Where we disagree is he doesn't just want to say, go and go forth and be free and fail or succeed on your own. No. He wants the government to buy up the housing or buy up land and build social housing.
He wants to turn New York into a giant kibbutz.
Yes. That is the only place where socialism or communism works.
Well, it's small.
On a small scale.
It's small and it's voluntary.
Exactly. It's voluntary. If you don't hold up your weight, you are forced to leave. And interestingly, Bernie Sanders went and stayed at a kibbutz for a time.
And then he got kicked out.
Exactly. Because he wouldn't do his job.
I think it was he didn't want to fork over his money. Because in a kibbutz, you can't, if you don't work in the kibbutz and you work outside, because you can't do that, you have to give whatever your earnings is to the kibbutz. You can't have your own money.
Right. So yes, there are some that let you work outside, and then you fork over a part of your money to the community. I think they let you have some spending money. You can go and buy, clothes.
Well, you take it from the community pool.
Mm-hmm.
I think every kibbutz is different.
It is. So I think the kibbutz that Sanders was in, you had to work at something in the kibbutz. A lot of times what they do is these kibbutzes, they grow crops. One kibbutz that you went to grew carrots, right?
No, they were. You're thinking of something else.
Potatoes?
It wasn't a farming produce. Well, they did do some of that, but it was mainly they had like cattle and animals.
Oh, okay. Okay.
More of like a ranch kind of style.
Ruth spent time in Israel with her 8th grade class on an 8th grade Israeli trip. Well, fine. Anyway, in this kibbutz, you had to work in the kibbutz. You were assigned a job. And he didn't do his job, so they kicked Sanders out because there was no job for, philosophical pontificating.
No, he probably didn't want to do it. Might have been like a hard labor type of thing, and he didn't want to do that.
Right. But that is the only time these communes work on a small scale. And you can leave if you don't want to hold up your end of
or you don't want
the deal.
Or you don't want to live that way.
Or you don't want to live that way.
You want to, like, let's say you want to own your own house. Okay, you don't have to go to a kibbutz.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, yeah, wants New York City to become a huge commune. Before, however, the government takes over the private property, Mamdani wants rent freezes. Rent is so expensive in New York. It's ludicrous. To buy anything, you need $800,000 just for a studio. 400 square feet. It's absurd. So his bright idea is he wants a rent freeze. Well, that will not do anything to help the housing issue that New York City has.
Because it doesn't tackle the root of the problem. They never attack the root of the problem because it's too abstract, it's too big to solve.
No, they never do. It's just putting a Band-Aid, and also that Band-Aid will do nothing. It'll actually make things worse. Actually, according to the New York Post, thousands of rent-controlled units are going unleased and sitting empty because in New York City law doesn't allow the owners of these rent-controlled apartments to raise the rents enough to pay for the improvements that these units need. If they don't make the improvements, they can't lease the apartment.
So we're stuck in limbo.
And these are sitting empty, and you know that there are people who would rent those apartments and need to rent those apartments, and they would pay full price. They don't need the rent control. But this is what rent control does. It makes housing scarcer. It does not grow housing. As for the government-owned grocery store, New York's prices on food is very high. Their prices for everything is high, but food is very high. And a government-owned grocery store is not going to lower the prices. And one reason for the high prices in New York City compared to the rest of the nation is the $16.50 an hour minimum wage they have. And guess what? Mamdani wants to raise that minimum wage to $30 an hour.
That's more than I make. And I have a degree.
Yeah. So the guy who bags buys the groceries is going to be making more than Ruth over here, who has a college-educated degree.
I mean, I am a teacher, and teachers get paid nothing, but...
I think they get paid more than grocery baggers or people who stock the shelves.
Yeah, it was a joke. It was a joke.
I mean, the grocery stores are running now, and this was reported by NPR. They are running at a very slim profit margin, partly because they have to pay such a high minimum wage. So, this is my proof that he is not a socialist. He's a communist.
That's more than my sister makes. And she's in the medical profession.
Mm-hmm.
For pets, but still.
Mm-hmm. I remember when Bernie Sanders was floating around the idea of a $15 minimum wage. And some people took the idea and ran with it. Well, now all of a sudden, apparently $15 is not enough. Now we need $30. Sooner or later, $30 isn't going to be enough. This is just adding to inflation. And it will lay off people.
Well, yeah, because you're going to have businesses that are like that. Either you're going to have businesses, this is especially going to affect small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the small businesses, which are like, I can't pay this and support myself or support the business.
Right.
Sometimes you'll have small businesses where they're not even really getting much of a profit at all for themselves. It's all going into the business.
Yes.
But then for the big businesses that maybe they could, they're not going to. They're just going to lay off people.
Every time.
Or raise the prices, or both.
Right. Every time there is a minimum wage increase, every time, this is historically documented, the first thing that happens is layoffs because the business cannot afford to pay their workers.
Or even if they could, they're not going to.
So the first thing that happens is you have layoffs. So now you have less people doing the job, and that puts more strain on the workers who were lucky enough not to be laid off. The second thing that happens is prices go up.
And then nobody benefits.
In, I believe it was Washington State in Seattle, they made the $15 minimum wage. The third thing that happened in Seattle was people went and asked their employer to cut their hours. And their employer was like, "Why do you want me to cut your hours?" And they said, "We're making too much money now. We don't qualify for Medicaid." Oh! And we're losing our basically they're going to lose their medical insurance.
Yeah, it might have been like they were making too much for Medicaid, but they couldn't exactly afford their own insurance.
Right. And the business can't afford to give them insurance. So, yeah, people were asking for their hours to be cut so they wouldn't make over the threshold. It was ridiculous. So,
they've done this multiple times. It's always a higher. They keep raising it higher and higher. And every time the same thing happens. It's again where I'm so fascinated by how humans just do not learn. We don't learn. It fascinates me beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
Because this is not even, I remember this. I'm not that old.
Yeah.
And I can remember the last time they raised the minimum wage and what happened after. Twice, I think they've done this. And it always leads to the same, it's a pattern.
Yeah.
It's always the same pattern. But they're just like, let's try it again.
Not doing anything different.
It doesn't change anything.
I don't know what it is that they can't, why they're so stubborn.
Like, people still can't afford things because the prices go up.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
it doesn't change the reality
No, it doesn't.
of these people's lives.
Not at all. Yet they keep trying. So, on to the more disturbing part. Mamdani is a raging anti-Semite. Now, again, have the evidence to prove it. So he is a co-founder of the college group Students for Justice in Palestine. Doesn't that sound like such a nice group? No, it's not. Because that group, if they sound familiar to you, is the group that organized the anti-Israel protests, harassment of Jews, and encampments on college campuses across the U.S. right after October 7th.
Something I don't get is, and I know it stems from hate, but similar to how you had people during the COVID pandemic attacking Asian Americans, some of which were not even Chinese, because they blamed China. But these people had nothing to do with it. Why are you attacking Americans? It has nothing, they have nothing to do with what another country is doing.
Okay.
Same thing here. Okay, you don't like Israel. You don't agree with what they're doing. Why are you attacking Americans?
We have no control over Israel. Zero, zip, none, nada. Yes, we are Jewish, but we live in America. We are Americans. We do not control Netanyahu. I do not have his phone number. Okay?
I think Israelis barely control him.
Exactly. The other thing he did on X, right after October 7th, 2023, the worst day since the Holocaust for Jews, he posted that Israel was to blame for the attacks. And
The initial attack? October 7th?
I heard this from many people. He is not the only one to say this. They blamed the victim. Well, it's Israel's own fault. He also said, quote, peace can only begin by ending the occupation and dismantling apartheid.
Oh, not that one. Not that argument again. Okay.
We have gone through Israel's history on this show. This is a total fabrication.
It's a lot more complicated.
Israel is not an occupier. They are not a colonizer.
Jews have always been there.
Yes.
Always.
Jews have always lived in Israel, even during the exile.
There were still Jews there. Not as many as before, but were still there.
Exactly. They lived side by side with the Arabs.
And that caused some tension.
Under England.
And that's where
after the destruction of the Ottoman Empire.
And that's actually where the Palestine name comes from. It comes from the UK when they bought it.
So, little history, very brief. The Ottoman Empire is ruined, okay? England acquires what they call Palestine. It is called Israel today and was called Israel before under King David and before him even. The Middle East is broken up, okay, into the countries that it is today, all right? And you had the Arabs who were there, they were actually from what is present-day Syria, all right? Israel was and is a great trading post. It's why everybody wanted it. It was the only piece of land in the desert that doesn't have a single ounce of oil, but it's on the Mediterranean Sea. So you have to literally go through Israel to get to the Mediterranean Sea. And that's why the Romans wanted it, and the Greeks wanted it, and the Persians wanted it, and
so on and so forth.
So forth and so on and so on. To say that we are occupiers is turning that name on its head. Other word I can't stand is colonizers, because again,
they were always there.
Were there before Jesus. They have been there before Islam was even created. And the apartheid thing, I mean, that is just an out-and-out lie. It's an out-and-out lie. Muslims are given every single right that a Jew or a Christian has. So that's just a lie.
Yeah, I mean, Israel is really diverse.
There are Arabs who are representatives in their parliament, which Israel calls the Knesset.
They have their own party, and they have representatives in their Knesset or parliament.
You know, I don't know of any apartheid that allows you to vote, because they can vote. And I don't know of any apartheid that allows you to actually represent citizens. So it's a lie.
And each time these Arab countries attack Israel, they're also attacking Arabs that live in Israel.
Yes.
They're also risking their lives and hurting them.
Exactly. So Mamdani also sponsored a bill to block New York charities from giving money or aid to Israelis. And he promised to arrest Netanyahu if he comes to New York City. He is also a proud supporter of the BDS movement. That's the, where we supposedly stopped trading with Israel, the United States, divesting in Israel. And he does not think Israel should exist, which means a total annihilation for the Jews there. Because the folks who are like Hamas, they're not going to say, oh, yes, you can live side by side with us, just under our control and under our rule. No, they're going to push them into the state, which is what they have called for.
Anyone notice that there's no Jews in any of the surrounding Arab countries, but there's Arabs in Israel?
Mm-hmm.
Funny how that works, huh?
And this guy is running for mayor in New York City with the largest population of Jews living there after Israel. And the Democratic Socialists of America, they are backing this guy. And they, by the way, that party has always opposed Israel. It is one of the reasons Roseanne Barr left the Democratic Socialist Party, because she's Jewish. She was basically grew up around Holocaust survivors. And when she learned that the Democratic Socialists do not support Israel, she left the party.
Now, did they just not support Israel, or do they not support Jews? Are they anti-Semitic? Because there is a slight difference.
Well, it's interesting. I have found that when you don't support a Jewish state, it's usually because you're anti-Semitic. Now there is, I must say, there is a group of Jews. They are ultra-Orthodox. They don't believe that we should have Israel yet.
I think we have discussed this before.
Yes, because they think we gotta wait for the Messiah. Anyway.
I do have one question. So this guy, he's running for mayor, right? What does him not supporting, I just answered my own question. What does him not supporting Israel have to do with what he can do in America? Because he can't affect anything internationally. But then I just answered my own question because of what we were just talking about, and how usually when someone doesn't support a Jewish state, they're anti-Semitic.
Because the problem is, there is literally no place for them to go. The whole reason we have present-day Israel is because when the Jews were fleeing Europe, nobody would take them.
They had nowhere to go.
Exactly. They could not go anywhere. The United States stopped taking them. Nobody would take them in mass. And they decided the safest place for them to be was in their homeland.
Yeah, the whole reason the whole Zionist movement happened is because they were tired of getting pushed around everywhere and not really having a place to call home because of constantly being persecuted. And they were like, enough is enough. We need to have Israel back.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We need to have our own Jewish state.
Yeah, where we can live without anti-Semitism.
I was going to say where we can be safe.
Yeah, and be safe. Exactly.
Not that they're really all that safe, but...
No. As I said, he is backed by his party, the Democratic Socialists of America, in a big way. And that party is growing. In 2016, when the Bernie movement first started, that party had 7,000 members. It now has over 55,000 nationwide. Just for a reference, that is very close to the amount of members the National Republican women have. The Democratic Socialists of America have 180 local branches, some right here in Texas. They already have a stronghold in Astoria, Queens, New York, where according to Harvard Political Review, Astoria has elected a socialist at every level of government, from state assembly, city council, U.S. Congress, okay, I believe AOC is their congressperson, and DSA is using the same blueprint to elect Mamdani as they did to elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or AOC. Want to take a wild guess who's funding Mamdani's campaign?
I can't think of anyone.
Well, actually, it's not a person. It's a bunch of PACs, political action committees.
Oh, maybe that's why I couldn't think of anyone.
Mm-hmm. Out of all the contributions he had in his campaign, only 77 contributions came from individuals. The rest were all from groups. Who voted for him in the primary? Well, according to the exit polls, white, young, college-educated elites.
That tracks.
Voted for him. Not the blue-collar, middle class, not minorities even.
Wow.
So, this begs the question, why is socialism on the rise?
It never went away?
It never went away. Yes. It was always there underneath the surface, but now they feel like they can come out. And we have failed to educate your generation about the horrors and the terrible history of communism, the Cold War, the USSR. And those things aren't known to the youth. I grew up in the 80s. I lived in the Cold War. I remember Reagan. I remember Gorbachev.
Yeah, you were
the end of communism. I remember how we heard the horror stories of how those folks lived and how they wanted to defect.
Remind me, was that the time of the, as they call it, the Red Scare or the Communist Scare? Or was that earlier?
That was earlier. The Red Scare was in the 50s.
Right.
But
I just need to double check.
We were still living under a threat of possible nuclear war because a communist country had nuclear weapons.
I will say, you say the youth doesn't know about this. I know about it.
You are the exception because you had me for a mother.
No, I think it's because I had my dad who fled the USSR.
Yeah.
And who lived in communism.
Yes. He remembers it well. And he's told many a story of how
hard it was.
9 people living in a 3-room apartment.
Mm-hmm. He didn't even know that he was Jewish because his family never told him, because if he mentioned anything, they would have had what were they called?
Secret police.
Secret police knocking on their door. Because, kids don't keep secrets that well. They don't have a filter. And they would constantly monitor the kids and everything that they said, and teachers would have to report.
Yeah. If you notice, Hitler, socialist. I know. Everyone goes, wait, he's fascist. No, he wasn't. He was socialist.
He just had fascist tendencies.
Hated Jews. Communists hated Jews. In the USSR, on your passport or on any of your birth certificates or paperwork, they had what's called the 5th line. So you had your name, your date of birth, where you were born, okay?
And your nationality.
The 5th line was Jewish.
Well, wasn't that was nationality, right? And they considered Jewish as a nationality. You weren't Russian, you were Jewish.
Yeah. You were, exactly. And they hated the Jews there.
Well, they hated all religion. You couldn't worship any god.
No.
The government was king.
Exactly. But you didn't have to put Christianity down as a 5th line. There was no Christianity. But yet, if you were Jewish, you still had to put down Jewish. And part of that is, of course, we are a nationality, we are a race. But also, Jews couldn't get into medical schools. They couldn't get into some universities. They were discriminated against in a lot of areas.
That's why you have a lot of Russians in Israel.
Exactly. The youth don't know these things. We have failed to teach them the horrors of living under communism, and then they lie about Venezuela and Cuba.
I don't think I ever learned about Venezuela and Cuba. I mean, in my schooling.
I did. I don't know if you're.
I'm talking about when I was.
Your school.
Yeah.
And teachers went over it, but colleges are not covering it. High schools aren't covering it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Sean Penn, he goes to Venezuela and touts how wonderful Hugo Chavez is.
Yeah, they do that on purpose. They show you they show Americans the best of the best, and they don't really show how the people are living.
Mm-hmm. And then you have colleges praise Marxism, which is the basis of communism, which is the basis of socialism. And you have young people just eating this up. Also,
well, on paper, communism and socialism sounds very nice, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then when you say it doesn't work, the usual response is, oh, well, it wasn't done right.
Or it's the America's fault. That's the latest thing I've heard about Venezuela. Well, it's our fault. It's America's fault because we are not helping them. Well, I'm sorry, when you take over your industry, and specifically your oil industry that is heavily invested in the oil industry, and then the cost of oil drops like a rock, interest rates go up, hyperinflation ensues. Oh my goodness, how is this our fault?
or you get that, oh, it wasn't communism's fault, or it wasn't socialism's fault. It was the dictator. Well, who do you think brought communism or socialism to that country? It was the dictator.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said before, it tends to draw these people, it tends to attract these types of people.
Yeah. And the guy who's there now, Maduro, he's just as bad as Chavez was. And Chavez did everything he said he was going to do. And here's the results. So the other problem is young people are angry. So they come out of these fancy schools loaded with debt. They can't find jobs in the useless field of study that they took. Also, companies are not hiring young folks.
Well, don't tend to.
Yeah. Saying that they are entitled. They don't want to work.
Yeah, I've been told many times that I'm very mature for my age.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, really?
It's been a problem. Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, he said he doesn't want to hire anybody under 40. I think actually under 45.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he's done. He's done with the millennials. He's done with the Gen Zers. This is the first time I've ever seen discrimination against young people. Usually it's the reverse. As you get older, it's usually harder to find jobs. Because people are like, oh, you're getting close to retirement age. I'm going to lose you. No, they don't want to hire the young people anymore. They also don't want to hire young people from Ivy League schools. Companies are saying that these folks coming out of these Ivy League schools, they're incompetent.
That's the news that's interesting, because it used to be that the Ivy League school was like, oh, that's how you get the good jobs. Everyone wants the people from the Ivy League school.
No, they're not what they once were. They're not rigorous anymore. Silicon Valley, this is from Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is having a huge problem with this. They're getting applicants from all of these elite Ivy League schools, and they're like, these people don't know how to think. They don't know how to compute. They don't know how to work.
Well, I've said multiple times, I am so glad to be out of college. The college didn't really do anything for me. I don't feel like it really taught me much. I have had more value in learning in doing the work than I ever was in the classroom.
That tends to be the case in a lot of things.
Like, I went into student teaching practically, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I started actually learning how to do this.
Years ago, there used to be things called apprenticeships, like student teaching, but this was in all fields.
That's what you need. You need to have apprenticeships in all fields, like with doctors having residency or teachers having student teaching. It should be in all fields because being in a classroom is vastly different, and talking about it and being theoretical is so vastly different than actually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And these trade schools, that is something they do. They teach the how part, in the trade schools, which a lot of people are going into. A lot of the people younger than you are going into the trades because they're realizing that, why should I get a useless degree, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars they don't have to get a job that's not going to pay off the college education, and when I could be doing something meaningful with my hands and reaping a reward for it.
Yeah, I mean, all college did for me, the only benefit I had was the degree. It gave me the degree.
Yeah.
Which is just like a status symbol.
It's a piece of paper.
Which is really just a status symbol saying, like, I went through all this work.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's the only benefit I had from college, really.
Mm-hmm. That's sad, as the person who paid for that college.
Well, and also them setting up the student teaching.
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay.
There was also that.
Mm-hmm.
But all the classes,
Well, these young people, instead of, blaming themselves for the choices that they made, they blame who they were taught to blame in college. The system, capitalism, and someone is always keeping them down.
That's the victim mentality. Mm-hmm. We have a big problem, and this is also in older generations. It's just more prevalent with younger because, you're struggling to get on your feet. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot. So you're struggling a lot more. We have like a big victim mentality that's been growing over several years. Like, it's not new. This has been happening. This has been growing for several years at this point, but it's like at an all-time high right now.
Well, Marx uses that mentality to pit laborer against business owner.
Yeah.
He's saying you are a victim of these businessmen.
It's never what you're doing. It's always what other people are doing.
Right. And he used victimhood to pit the classes against one another. And they're still doing that today. And for these folks, socialism is looked at to them as their last best hope. The government will save them from the greedy landlord.
It's literally history repeating itself. Mm-hmm. It's literally communist Russia.
Yeah. Wiping out college debt, freezing their rents, giving them free stuff. And Mamdani sang his siren song and got young people to fall for it. So, by this time, our listeners are probably asking themselves, how does this affect Texas or Plano?
Yeah.
Well, 4 million people have fled their ultra-blue states for red ones like Texas. And if Mamdani is elected, millions more will flee. Now, one would think, maybe they'll go to upstate New York. I don't think so. So they're going to come here to Texas, and they'll go to Florida, they'll go to North Carolina, and they're not going to go to these small towns in West Texas that could really use the population.
No, because they're used to the big city.
They're
And suburbs.
Exactly. Well, that's why I don't think they're going to go to upstate New York. They are going to come to DFW area. They're going to come to Plano. They're going to come to Houston, go to
Fort Worth.
San Antonio, Fort Worth. Fort Worth has, I think they have reached over 1 million new people now.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's boomed in Fort Worth.
Do you know how many Dallas has gotten?
No, I don't know how many Dallas. I heard the Fort Worth number from a friend of mine. So those places are already crowded. The home values have skyrocketed. I'll talk about that in another episode. And frankly, I know the legislature has worked on this, but right now we do not have enough electricity or water to handle the influx.
Oh yeah, no. We're barely scraping by right now.
Okay? The other...
the city council has, tried to address this with the water problem. Right? Do I remember remembering that correctly?
That's the state legislature.
State legislature, yeah.
So the other problem is if socialism wins across the country, or let's start just in the New York City area, they're going to feel emboldened, and they're going to think that they can spread. And this is really going to start pitting geographic region against geographic region, because we now have where you've got so many people fleeing these blue states to red states.
Mm-hmm.
And they are Republicans that are coming.
I don't know if they're all Republicans.
I guess is good for... They've done studies on this, and the majority of them are Republicans.
That's not all, that's just majority.
Yes. So for the Republicans, that's a good thing. They'll like that. But again...
We don't have the capacity.
we just, But they're going to think that they can try that in other places. And then if that works there, more people are going to come. The other problem is if Mamdani wins, anti-Semitism. And that is already spreading here. And we are already more over or longer than usual. So I'm going to leave that here. I'm going to save that for next week, because the anti-Semitism is in our own Plano schools. And we were going to do another episode on that topic next week.
Yeah, I guess we'll start with that.
Yes, we will start with that, because we're long today. But we did take last week off. We took the 4th of July off. Up next, we have our very important dog. Gemma, still up for adoption. Folks.
Come on, guys.
Is a friendly dog who is about 3 years of age. She is a very sweet and playful dog. Gemma will make a great companion for you. She was never claimed by her owner and wants a new home. Gemma is an affectionate dog. She is at the Plano Animal Shelter.
If you know somebody, if you want a dog, or you know somebody that wants a dog, tell them about Gemma.
Mm-hmm. And tell them about our website, planospoliticalpitbull.com. And Gemma's picture is right up there, and you can click on the box, Pit Bulls for Adoption, and that will take you right to Gemma's own page.
The sweet little puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's not a puppy, but...
And you can read all about her. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. We hope you do have subscribed. That is all we have time for today. Until next time, this is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.